Friends, if you want to watch the super hit movie Play Dirty 2025 in English, then make sure to like this video. And if you are visiting our channel for the first time, do not forget to subscribe so you never miss our latest reviews and movie breakdowns. In today's video, we are going to talk about one of the most talked about films of the year, Play Dirty 2025. We will discuss what this movie is all about, where you can watch it, and reveal some fascinating behind-the-scenes details. From the creative vision to the technical brilliance, we will explore every major aspect that made this movie a success. So, stay tuned as we uncover everything you need to know about Play Dirty 2025. Play Dirty 2025 is an action-packed crime thriller that blends high-stakes heist sequences with intense emotional storytelling. The film is directed by Shane Black, who is known for crafting sharp dialogue, dark humor, and gritty crime narratives. This time, he brings back the classic elements of a heist movie but with a modern twist, focusing on loyalty, betrayal, and redemption. Set against a backdrop of high-end corruption and double-crossing criminals, Play Dirty 2025 follows a story filled with tension, strategy, and fast-paced action. The movie features an incredible star cast led by Mark Wahlberg, who plays a former professional thief drawn back into the world of crime for one last job. Opposite him is LaKeith Stanfield, who portrays a determined law enforcement officer caught in the gray zone between justice and survival. Their performances are sharp, believable, and filled with nuance, creating a powerful dynamic that drives the movie forward. Supporting actors like Angela Bassett, Sam Rockwell, and Zazie Beetz add depth and realism to the story, giving each character a distinct voice and purpose in the narrative. From a technical standpoint, Play Dirty 2025 shines through its expert direction and visual storytelling. The cinematography captures a sleek urban atmosphere with moody lighting and sharp contrasts that heighten the film's tone. The action sequences are shot with precision, blending practical effects with well-edited camera work to give each scene a grounded but thrilling edge. The editing, done by a team of experienced professionals, maintains a steady rhythm that keeps the audience hooked from beginning to end without unnecessary slow moments. The music in Play Dirty 2025 is another highlight. The background score, composed by Lorne Balfe, combines electronic beats with orchestral undertones, creating tension and emotion throughout the film. Each musical cue feels intentional, building suspense in high-octane chase scenes and adding depth to quieter, character-driven moments. The soundtrack also includes a mix of contemporary songs that perfectly complement the tone of the story and enhance the viewing experience. In pre-production, the filmmakers spent a significant amount of time on storyboarding and set design to ensure a realistic depiction of the world of underground crime. The script underwent multiple revisions to balance its complex narrative with sharp dialogue and well-developed characters. During filming, the crew shot on various real-world locations, including urban cityscapes and hidden warehouses, to give the story a sense of authenticity. The production design team deserves special credit for creating environments that feel both gritty and cinematic. The post-production phase of Play Dirty 2025 was handled meticulously, with extensive color grading to achieve its distinctive tone. Visual effects were used sparingly but effectively to enhance certain scenes without overshadowing the practical elements. Sound design played a crucial role in immersing the audience, with crisp audio layers that bring gunfights, car chases, and tense conversations to life. The movie's budget reportedly ranged between $70 to $90 million, a figure that reflects its high production value and star-studded cast. The investment clearly paid off as Play Dirty 2025 performed impressively at the box office, drawing audiences both domestically and internationally. The film's blend of action, suspense, and clever storytelling made it a hit among fans of heist and crime genres. Story-wise, Play Dirty 2025 centers around an ex-criminal trying to lead a clean life but forced to return to his old ways after being framed for a crime he did not commit. As he navigates a dangerous web of deceit, he must decide who to trust and how far he is willing to go to clear his name. The plot is fast-moving yet emotional, balancing adrenaline-pumping action with thought-provoking drama. In conclusion, Play Dirty 2025 stands out as a gripping action thriller that combines strong performances, intelligent direction, and top-notch production design. Every element, from the script to the score, works together to create a cinematic experience that is both entertaining and meaningful. It is a movie that keeps viewers guessing until the final scene and leaves a lasting impression long after the credits roll. Whether you are a fan of classic crime stories or modern thrillers, Play Dirty 2025 is definitely worth your time. Watch this video till the end to discover more insights, and let us know your thoughts about this film in the comments below. Play Dirty 2025 is a tense, fast-paced heist thriller directed and co-written by Shane Black and loosely adapted from Richard Stark's Parker novels. The film combines the old-school grit of classic crime cinema with modern storytelling, humor, and emotional depth. It follows the story of Parker, played by Mark Wahlberg, a professional thief with his own strict moral code. Known for being ruthless yet calculated, Parker's life spirals out of control after a racetrack heist goes horribly wrong. The betrayal that follows sets him on a path of revenge and redemption. LaKeith Stanfield co-stars as Grofield, a charming but conflicted thief who becomes Parker's unlikely ally. Their partnership forms the emotional backbone of the movie, balancing trust, loyalty, and survival in a world where betrayal is the norm. Rosa Salazar plays Zen, a dangerous and unpredictable operative whose choices shape much of the film's chaos and tension. Her performance brings intensity and intrigue, blurring the lines between right and wrong. The supporting cast is equally strong. Keegan-Michael delivers a surprisingly dark and intense role as a manipulative insider. Chukwudi Iwuji portrays a cold and calculating criminal mastermind, and Wolff appears as a young member of the crew torn between greed and morality. Gretchen Mol adds emotional weight in a crucial supporting role, while Thomas Jane and Tony Shalhoub portray key figures tied to Parker's past and the underworld he's trying to escape. The story begins with a meticulously planned racetrack heist that seems destined for success. But when greed and mistrust take over, the operation collapses in a bloody double-cross, leaving Parker for dead. Barely surviving, he makes a promise to avenge his fallen partner and uncover who orchestrated the betrayal. As Parker heals and regroups, he reconnects with Grofield to plan his retaliation. Together, they gather a new team for a bigger, riskier job, one that will expose the truth and hit their enemies where it hurts most. As they dig deeper, Parker and Grofield discover that the stolen money is part of a much larger web involving corrupt politicians, mercenaries, and global financiers. What begins as a personal vendetta evolves into a dangerous mission that threatens to expose an entire criminal network. Each move Parker makes brings him closer to his goal, but also closer to destruction. The tension builds through a series of high-stakes heists, gunfights, and betrayals, all shot with precision and realism. Shane Black's direction brings a sharp mix of grit and dark wit to the film. His signature writing style, fast dialogue, ironic humor, and emotional undertones, keeps the movie dynamic and unpredictable. The cinematography emphasizes moody urban settings, neon-lit streets, and shadowy interiors that enhance the film's noir-inspired aesthetic. The editing keeps the pacing tight, alternating between explosive action and quieter, character-driven moments that reveal the psychology behind each decision. The score, composed by Alan Silvestri, adds an extra layer of suspense and mood. The mix of pulsating beats and orchestral cues gives the film both energy and depth, intensifying the heist scenes and emotional turning points. From a production standpoint, the movie makes effective use of practical effects and real locations, giving each action sequence a tangible sense of realism. During pre-production, the team focused heavily on authenticity, from designing realistic heist strategies to perfecting the look and behavior of each character. In post-production, color grading and sound design played major roles in creating the movie's slick yet gritty feel. The film's budget, estimated at around $80 million, is evident in its detailed set pieces and elaborate action choreography. Play Dirty 2025 was released worldwide on Prime Video in October 2025, allowing it to reach a massive audience almost instantly. Critics praised the performances, especially Wahlberg's controlled intensity and Stanfield's layered portrayal, but noted that the film's tone occasionally shifts between dark realism and stylish exaggeration. However, audiences embraced its combination of crime, tension, and emotional depth, making it one of the standout thrillers of the year. In summary, Play Dirty 2025 is more than just a heist movie. It's a story about loyalty, betrayal, and survival in a corrupt world. Mark Wahlberg's Parker is both brutal and principled, a man fighting against the very system that created him. With strong supporting performances, razor-sharp dialogue, and masterful direction, the film keeps viewers engaged from start to finish. Its blend of action, intrigue, and emotion makes Play Dirty 2025 a must-watch for fans of crime dramas and modern thrillers. Play Dirty 2025 opens with a striking image of a sun-baked racetrack in the middle of nowhere, where a crew of professional thieves prepares for what looks like a flawless heist. The camera follows Parker, played by Mark Wahlberg, as he surveys the scene with calm precision. From the first frame, the tone is established, a world built on strategy, silence, and unspoken rules. Shane Black's direction immediately immerses the audience into Parker's disciplined mindset. The first 10 minutes play almost wordlessly, focusing on glances, hand signals, and mechanical timing. The job goes off smoothly until one of the crew members, driven by greed and fear, turns on them. The racetrack erupts into chaos, and Parker is left bleeding, betrayed, and presumed dead. This is the film's inciting incident and the moment that defines everything that follows. When the story resumes, weeks have passed. Parker has survived, but his world is shattered. He hides out in a run-down coastal motel, nursing his wounds both physical and emotional. The first act builds slowly, introducing the new players in his life. Grofield, played by LaKeith Stanfield, enters as a fellow thief with a laid-back charm masking deep moral conflict. Grofield's introduction scene, a quiet conversation in a jazz bar, sets up a dynamic of mistrust and reluctant partnership. The two share a history hinted at through fragments of dialogue, never fully explained, giving their relationship a layer of mystery. Parker's drive is pure revenge, but Grofield wants something bigger, a chance to make their mark and get out for good. The rising action begins when they learn that the racetrack heist was never about the money. It was a cover for a larger conspiracy involving corrupt politicians and a private intelligence network. The script reveals this information in pieces, keeping the audience guessing while Parker reconnects with old contacts. Rosa Salazar's character, Zen, appears during this phase, an enforcer with shifting loyalties and emotional scars of her own. Her scenes with Parker are electric, filled with tension that borders on attraction but always returns to danger. Zen knows more about the betrayal than she admits, and the story cleverly uses her to blur the moral line between victim and villain. At the midpoint, a pivotal twist flips the narrative. Parker discovers that one of his old crew members, now working under a new alias, sold them out for protection. This revelation leads to one of the movie's standout sequences, a violent confrontation in an abandoned shipping yard shot with long takes and tight close-ups that build both suspense and raw emotion. The twist also changes Parker's motivation. It's no longer just revenge, it becomes about control and justice in a world that refuses to play fair. From there, the plot accelerates. Parker and Grofield plan a new, audacious heist designed to expose the conspiracy while taking back what was stolen. The pacing becomes more urgent, with intercutting timelines showing their preparation, the manipulation of corrupt insiders, and the emotional toll it takes on everyone involved. Shane Black uses non-linear editing to heighten suspense, revealing certain outcomes before explaining how they happened. This narrative choice keeps viewers engaged, forcing them to piece together the logic behind each decision. Emotionally, the movie peaks during a tense sequence where Grofield must decide whether to betray Parker to save himself. The film slows down for this scene, focusing on stillness, silence, and moral conflict. Stanfield's performance in this moment is powerful. It humanizes the chaos, showing the psychological pressure that crime inflicts on loyalty. The heist that follows is a masterclass in controlled tension, unfolding in a luxury high-rise filled with political elites. As alarms sound and chaos erupts, the camera stays close to Parker, grounding the action in personal determination rather than spectacle. The climax arrives when Parker finally confronts the true architect behind the betrayal, a powerful businessman connected to government operations. Unlike traditional action finales, this confrontation relies more on words than bullets. Parker exposes the corruption through a clever manipulation of evidence, forcing his enemy to destroy himself. Yet the victory feels hollow. Grofield is wounded, Zen disappears into the night, and Parker walks away richer but emptier. The story acknowledges that in his world, winning is never clean. The film closes on an ambiguous note. Parker returns to the same racetrack from the beginning, standing alone as the crowd's roar echoes faintly in the distance. The camera lingers on his expression, calm, unreadable, and tired. It's a poetic full circle that captures the movie's central idea, survival without peace. Narratively, Play Dirty 2025 balances linear structure with flashes of non-linearity, revealing key details out of order to maintain intrigue. Each twist lands with purpose, either deepening character motivation or reframing what we thought we understood. Emotionally, the story delivers several peaks, but its quietest moments resonate the most, the pauses between violence where we see who these people really are. By the final beat, the audience is left with a mix of satisfaction and unease, recognizing that in the world Shane Black creates, every deal comes with a cost and every victory leaves a scar. Play Dirty 2025 builds its momentum not only through heists and action sequences, but through its carefully constructed characters. The people in Shane Black's story are not archetypes, they are bruised, flawed, and shaped by their own rules. Each character carries a personal code that defines their choices, even when those choices collide with morality. At the heart of this ensemble is Parker, played by Mark Wahlberg, whose transformation drives the entire emotional arc of the film. When the story begins, Parker is a man defined by precision and self-control. He is a thief with principles, operating by a personal code that values loyalty and professionalism over greed. Early scenes show him as detached but methodical, a man who views crime as a business, not a thrill. Wahlberg's performance makes him both intimidating and quietly tragic. The racetrack heist that opens the film is designed to display his leadership and discipline, but the betrayal that follows shatters the illusion of control he's built his life around. From that moment on, Parker's goal changes. It is no longer about the money, it becomes about reclaiming power and punishing betrayal. Throughout the film, Parker's development is marked by subtle physical and emotional cues rather than overt dialogue. His silence in key moments, like when he revisits the motel room where he nearly died, speaks volumes. His posture shifts from rigid confidence to a heavier, almost resigned stance. These visual details reflect his growing disillusionment. Parker's journey is not about redemption but realization. He sees that his so-called code has no place in a world ruled by manipulation and greed. By the end, he is a man who still lives by his rules but no longer believes in them. Grofield, played by LaKeith Stanfield, serves as Parker's mirror and moral contrast. Where Parker is controlled and pragmatic, Grofield is impulsive yet emotionally aware. He begins the story as a man trying to find purpose beyond money. His charm hides his uncertainty, and his casual attitude conceals deep dissatisfaction with the life he leads. The partnership between Parker and Grofield becomes the film's emotional backbone. Their conversations reveal a quiet tension between survival and conscience. One standout moment occurs during a stakeout, when Grofield casually mentions wanting to do something clean for once. Parker dismisses it, but the line lingers, foreshadowing Grofield's later moral crisis. As the plot unfolds, Grofield's arc takes him from loyal partner to conflicted betrayer. In the midpoint sequence, he faces a choice between turning Parker over to save himself or staying loyal and risking death. His hesitation in that scene, just a slight flicker of doubt before he acts, captures his entire inner struggle. Ultimately, he sides with Parker, but the cost is severe. By the finale, Grofield's wounds are both physical and emotional. His final conversation with Parker, where he admits that clean work never happens in a dirty world, marks the completion of his arc from idealist to realist. Zen, portrayed by Rosa Salazar, is the film's most unpredictable force. Introduced as an enforcer working for the rival faction, she embodies both danger and vulnerability. Her motives are deliberately opaque at first. As the story progresses, glimpses of her past suggest a life defined by exploitation and survival. Zen's interactions with Parker are layered with tension, half threat, half connection. In one key scene, she asks Parker if he ever wonders what comes after revenge. He doesn't answer, but the moment lingers, showing how she plants doubt in his otherwise unshakable resolve. By the third act, Zen chooses to betray her employers and help Parker, not out of loyalty but as an act of self-preservation. Her development represents the theme of moral ambiguity, doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. Her disappearance in the final act leaves her arc unresolved, mirroring the movie's larger refusal to offer clean conclusions. The antagonistic presence in the film is not a single villain but a system. The figurehead of that system, a corrupt businessman played by Shalhoub, functions as Parker's ideological opposite. Where Parker believes in codes, the antagonist believes in chaos disguised as order. Their confrontation in the final act underscores the movie's central question: can integrity survive in a corrupt world? The villain's downfall, caused by his own arrogance, is less about justice and more about poetic inevitability. Supporting characters like Keegan-Michael Key's double-crossing insider and Gretchen Mole's emotionally torn accomplice add layers to the narrative. Though their screen time is limited, their actions directly influence Parker's evolution. Each represents a potential path he could take, one of compromise or emotional surrender. By the end of Play Dirty 2025, the characters have changed not through redemption but through recognition. Parker understands that control is an illusion. Grofield accepts that morality has no place in their line of work. Zen realizes that survival sometimes requires betrayal. Together, they embody the film's grim philosophy, that even in a world built on deceit, humanity flickers through in moments of doubt, loyalty, and fleeting honesty. Shane Black uses every gesture, every look, and every unfinished conversation to shape these arcs. No one ends up clean, but each character is more self-aware than when the story began. In this world, growth doesn't mean becoming better, it means finally seeing the truth for what it is. Play Dirty 2025 thrives on its performances as much as it does on its plot and style. The cast's ability to ground the film's darkly comic tone and pulpy violence in emotional realism is what gives the movie its staying power. The story's moral ambiguity demands performances that feel raw yet controlled, and much of the film's tension comes from watching actors negotiate that balance. At the center of it all is Mark Wahlberg, who delivers one of his most restrained and precise performances in years. His portrayal of Parker, a professional thief defined by his code and haunted by betrayal, is built around stillness, timing, and the deliberate withholding of emotion. Wahlberg's strength lies in understatement. Instead of leaning into tough guy bravado, he conveys Parker's authority through measured silences, a clenched jaw, and the subtle weight of exhaustion. In one standout scene early in the film, as Parker lies wounded in a motel room staring at the ceiling, Wahlberg's stillness communicates despair more effectively than any dialogue could. His performance is about control, and watching him lose that control, piece by piece, becomes the film's emotional through line. LaKeith Stanfield, as Grofield, is the film's emotional center and its most surprising element. Where Wahlberg is all tension and calculation, Stanfield brings elasticity, humor, and quiet sadness. His natural rhythm and improvisational energy contrast beautifully with Wahlberg's precision, making their dynamic unpredictable. Stanfield excels in the moments where Grofield's mask slips, his eyes darting, his voice lowering to a whisper when he admits doubt or fear. One of the film's best sequences involves Grofield and Parker sitting in a parked car before a job, discussing whether people like them ever get second chances. Stanfield's delivery of a simple line, "I don't even know what clean looks like anymore," lands like a confession, layering the film's philosophy of corruption with real human ache. His timing is impeccable, especially in scenes that rely on tension disguised as humor, something Shane Black's writing thrives on. Rosa Salazar brings both danger and emotional complexity to Zen, the film's most unpredictable character. Her performance walks the line between menace and vulnerability, and she commands every scene she's in without overplaying it. Salazar's physicality, tight shoulders, deliberate pacing, eyes that never stop calculating, turns her into a figure of constant tension. She communicates layers of history and pain through movement more than dialogue. Her chemistry with Wahlberg works not through romance but through shared trauma and guarded respect. A key moment in the second act, when Zen asks Parker if he ever wonders what comes after revenge, captures the essence of her character. The question isn't just rhetorical, it's a confession of her own disillusionment. Salazar turns that brief exchange into something haunting. Tony Shalhoub, as the film's primary antagonist, delivers a performance of polished menace. He plays the role like a corporate sociopath, charming and articulate but with a thinly veiled contempt for everyone around him. His calmness is what makes him terrifying. In the climactic confrontation with Parker, Shalhoub never raises his voice. Instead, he uses tone and rhythm to dominate the scene, letting his intelligence and arrogance do the work. His delivery of lines like, "You don't destroy systems like mine, you just survive under them," gives the character philosophical weight. While his screen time is limited, his presence lingers long after his final scene. Keegan-Michael is perhaps the most surprising casting choice, and while some of his comic instincts peek through, he channels them effectively into a performance built on charm and deceit. His character, a scheming insider who manipulates both sides, benefits from Key's timing and natural charisma. He uses his expressive face to sell duplicity, a smile becomes a threat, a laugh turns into a warning. His scenes add texture to the film, though occasionally his lighter energy feels slightly at odds with the movie's darker tone. Still, he brings dimension to a character that might have been forgettable in less capable hands. Gretchen Mol, as the emotional anchor of the story's human side, delivers a nuanced and understated performance. Her role is small but vital. She represents the world Parker once wanted to live in but can never return to. Her scenes with Wahlberg are quiet and intimate, allowing a glimpse into the man Parker could have been. Mol's controlled delivery and gentle tone bring warmth to a film otherwise steeped in cynicism. Her performance lingers precisely because it contrasts so strongly with the chaos surrounding it. Nat Wolff and Chukwudi Iwuji round out the ensemble with solid supporting turns. Wolff captures the vulnerability of a younger thief caught between ambition and guilt, while Iwuji brings gravitas and authority to his role as a criminal strategist. Their interactions with the leads help build the film's layered moral world. One of Shane Black's strengths as a director is his ability to give actors space to breathe within stylized dialogue, and Play Dirty 2025 benefits greatly from that freedom. Every performer finds rhythm in the pauses as much as the words. The chemistry between Wahlberg, Stanfield, and Salazar drives the narrative's energy, and even smaller players make an impact through well-timed reactions or fleeting emotional honesty. In the end, Play Dirty 2025 succeeds not because of its plot twists or set pieces alone, but because its cast invests those moments with humanity. Wahlberg anchors the story with stoic gravity, Stanfield electrifies it with soul and spontaneity, Salazar injects danger and depth, and Shalhoub frames it all with chilling intellect. Together they turn a sharp, cynical crime thriller into a study of power, loyalty, and moral decay, proving that in the hands of the right performers, even the dirtiest stories can reveal something deeply human. Play Dirty 2025 bears the unmistakable signature of Shane Black, a director known for blending sharp wit, pulpy violence, and character-driven storytelling. His direction anchors the film in a world that feels both heightened and grounded, a neo-noir crime landscape infused with moral ambiguity and dark humor. From the opening frame to the closing image, every directorial choice reflects his fascination with flawed men who live by codes, witty dialogue that undercuts tension, and action that feels tactile rather than overblown. Black approaches Play Dirty with a seasoned hand, crafting a film that moves with confidence while occasionally indulging in stylistic excess. The tone of the film is classic Shane Black, cynical but human, darkly funny yet grounded in real emotion. He sets the mood through deliberate pacing and rhythm. The first act unfolds patiently, establishing atmosphere and character dynamics through silences rather than exposition. Black resists the temptation to rush into action, choosing instead to let the audience settle into Parker's world, a grim ecosystem of criminals, hustlers, and opportunists. The restraint pays off. When the violence finally comes, it lands harder because the groundwork has been laid through mood and character. This sense of tonal control gives the film a slow burn intensity that keeps viewers uneasy yet engaged. Visually, Black and his cinematographer use a combination of long takes and tight close-ups to balance immersion and tension. The camera often lingers a moment too long on faces, forcing the viewer to read emotion beneath stoicism. In the racetrack heist that opens the film, Black relies on long tracking shots that move fluidly through the chaos, capturing the precision of the plan and the fragility of its execution. This technique allows the audience to feel part of the operation, sharing the crew's confidence right up until it implodes. Throughout the film, abrupt cuts punctuate moments of betrayal or revelation, reflecting the sudden violence and instability of the criminal world. The editing rhythm mirrors Parker's internal state, controlled when he is in command, fragmented when his control slips away. One of Black's greatest strengths lies in his direction of actors. He understands how to pull subtle, lived-in performances out of big personalities. With Mark Wahlberg, he strips away bravado and leans into restraint. Under Black's direction, Wahlberg gives a performance that depends more on presence than speech. For LaKeith Stanfield, Black uses rhythm and pacing, letting pauses hang long enough to reveal inner conflict. His guidance of Rosa Salazar shows his skill at balancing strength and vulnerability, framing her as both dangerous and sympathetic. Each actor feels tuned to the same wavelength, a sign of a director who communicates tone clearly and gives performers room to explore within it. Black's staging of scenes is methodical. He uses space to communicate hierarchy and emotion. In dialogue-heavy scenes, characters are positioned with deliberate tension, one slightly elevated, another boxed in by the frame. This compositional storytelling reinforces power dynamics without words. The use of lighting follows a noir sensibility. Shadows dominate interiors, neon reflections hint at moral corruption, and moments of daylight feel unnaturally stark, almost sterile. These choices are not just aesthetic, they deepen the emotional tone, mirroring the duality of crime and conscience. Where Black excels most is in transitions between tones. He can pivot from quiet reflection to explosive violence within seconds without losing cohesion. This tonal elasticity defines his work and gives Play Dirty its heartbeat. A good example is the motel sequence early in the film. It starts as a still, intimate scene of Parker recovering from betrayal, then escalates into a brutal fight that feels improvised and raw. The shift feels organic because the emotional undercurrent never changes. It's the same anger and despair, simply given physical form. However, not every directorial choice lands cleanly. In the second act, Black occasionally overplays stylistic flourishes, particularly in non-linear flashbacks that disrupt pacing rather than deepen the story. These moments, though visually striking, sometimes pull focus away from Parker's emotional journey. Similarly, a few dialogue exchanges lean too heavily on his trademark sarcasm, which undercuts tension in scenes that might have benefited from silence. Yet even these missteps feel intentional, part of Black's long-standing habit of juxtaposing humor and pain to test how far tone can stretch before breaking. The film's pacing is deliberate but never static. Black structures the narrative like a series of pressure points, each scene tightening the tension before giving brief release. His control over rhythm ensures that the audience never feels lost, even as the plot's moral lines blur. The climactic sequence in the high-rise is a prime example of his directorial precision. The camera remains intimate amid chaos, following Parker through confined spaces, using reflections and fragmented angles to simulate paranoia. The editing is sharp but never disorienting, maintaining clarity even as action unfolds rapidly. What ultimately defines Shane Black's direction in Play Dirty 2025 is his ability to balance style with psychology. Every camera move, every cut, every piece of dialogue serves a dual function, to entertain and to reveal. He understands that thrillers are not only about what happens but about how characters process what happens. The result is a film that feels both visceral and introspective. By the time the story reaches its final beat, a solitary Parker standing under the roar of a racetrack, Black's vision is clear. The world of Play Dirty is one where professionalism replaces morality, survival replaces victory, and the director's steady hand ensures that every frame reflects that bleak but fascinating truth. The cinematography of Play Dirty 2025 plays an essential role in shaping its world, tone, and emotional weight. Handled by veteran cinematographer Ben Davis, the visual language of the film is gritty, precise, and unapologetically tactile. Every frame feels purposeful, every shadow charged with tension, and every flicker of light designed to draw the viewer deeper into the morally fractured world of Parker. Rather than relying on gloss or overt spectacle, the film's visuals aim for authenticity, capturing both the elegance and ugliness of a criminal ecosystem. The result is a movie that feels grounded yet cinematic, intimate yet expansive. Davis approaches the story through a lens of restrained realism. His camera rarely shouts for attention, it observes. The use of framing is one of the film's greatest strengths. Wide shots dominate the opening act, establishing the vast, impersonal landscapes of Parker's world. Concrete skylines, empty racetracks, and desolate coastal stretches that echo the isolation of its protagonist. As the story tightens, so does the framing. The camera begins to move closer, shifting into tight compositions that emphasize claustrophobia and control. This gradual change mirrors Parker's emotional journey from detached precision to personal involvement, subtly showing his internal confinement through external form. Lighting serves as the emotional language of the film. The palette alternates between cold blues and muted ambers, drawing a visual line between detachment and heat, calculation and chaos. Early scenes in Miami's underworld shimmer with humid neon reflections, evoking a deceptive glamour that masks the brutality underneath. When the narrative moves inland, the palette becomes desaturated, relying on harsh daylight and dim interiors to reflect moral erosion. In one particularly memorable sequence, Parker stands in front of a half-lit mirror, one side of his face illuminated and the other swallowed in darkness. It's a classic noir composition, executed with modern restraint, visually expressing the duality that defines both character and story. Camera movement is another hallmark of the film's visual design. Davis and Shane Black favor a blend of controlled tracking and handheld immediacy. During heist sequences, the camera glides smoothly through motion, creating a sense of precision and coordination. These scenes almost feel choreographed, each movement syncing with the character's planning and execution. But once the plan collapses, the visual rhythm fractures. Handheld shots take over, the frame shaking slightly as chaos erupts. This shift from smooth to unstable motion doesn't just increase tension, it immerses the audience in the unraveling psychology of the characters. The viewer feels the instability in real time. Color grading reinforces the movie's noir foundation while updating it for contemporary audiences. Shadows are deep but never artificially crushed. Night scenes have texture, allowing light sources, street lamps, car headlights, cigarette sparks, to define composition. The controlled use of contrast gives the film a tactile realism. Even when the lighting is stylized, it feels organic to the environment. One standout sequence takes place during a rain-soaked getaway, where reflections on wet asphalt distort city lights into abstract streaks of color. The camera lingers just long enough for the image to feel painterly, yet the pacing never slows the momentum. That balance between beauty and danger defines the film's visual aesthetic. Davis also uses perspective to underline character relationships. Low angles emphasize dominance or control, particularly in scenes where Parker confronts rival criminals. Conversely, high angles often depict moments of vulnerability, most notably during a motel confrontation where the camera looks down through ceiling cracks, suggesting unseen surveillance and moral exposure. The choice of perspective always carries meaning. Even in dialogue scenes, spatial arrangement conveys tension. When two characters sit across a table, a slight asymmetry in framing makes the viewer sense imbalance long before any betrayal occurs. One of the most striking aspects of the cinematography is its restraint with digital effects. Play Dirty avoids the overly polished visual style common in many modern action thrillers. Practical lighting dominates. Real locations breathe texture into the frame, the grain of old wood, the gleam of wet metal, the grit on a glass surface. Davis's camera doesn't beautify the world, it documents it with an unflinching eye. This grounded approach gives the violence more weight and the quieter moments more sincerity. Even small details, like a glint of sweat on Parker's face or the trembling reflection of a flame, are captured with precision, amplifying realism. The film's standout shots linger long after the credits roll. The opening racetrack heist, captured in a single sweeping take, introduces viewers to both the scale and precision of the story world. Another unforgettable image arrives near the finale. Parker walking alone along a fog-drenched pier at dawn, the horizon barely visible through the mist. The camera pulls back slowly, diminishing him against the vast emptiness, a haunting visual echo of isolation and consequence. These compositions are not decorative, they are storytelling in visual form, communicating mood and meaning without words. Lighting also becomes a metaphorical device throughout the film. Whenever a character crosses a moral line, Davis subtly adjusts illumination. Warm tones fade, giving way to colder hues that suggest detachment and decay. During key emotional confrontations, practical light sources, lamps, windows, headlights, are used to shape mood rather than fill space. This painterly control over illumination allows each frame to communicate the inner temperature of the scene. In essence, the cinematography of Play Dirty 2025 is not an accessory, it is the soul of the film's atmosphere. Ben Davis and Shane Black work in harmony to create visuals that are as psychological as they are aesthetic. Every decision, from framing and focus to shadow and saturation, serves to immerse the audience deeper into Parker's fractured morality. The result is a visually cohesive experience where form and content mirror one another. When the final frame fades to black, what lingers isn't just the story, it's the memory of how that story was seen, through a lens that understood corruption and clarity, violence and silence, all in the same breath. Editing and pacing are the heartbeat of Play Dirty 2025, defining not only how the story unfolds but how tension, emotion, and momentum are sustained across its 2-hour runtime. The film's editing, supervised by Shane Black's longtime collaborator Dana E. Glauberman, is marked by precision and rhythm. It's not the kind of editing that calls attention to itself, rather, it operates with quiet control, orchestrating mood and structure with deliberate finesse. Glauberman's approach combines the tight mechanics of a heist thriller with the psychological elasticity of a character study, ensuring that every cut serves both tension and insight. The result is a film that feels alive, its tempo breathing with the characters' shifting emotional states. The first act of Play Dirty is built on controlled pacing. Glauberman resists the temptation to rush into action, instead letting each scene establish tone and space. The editing here is smooth and patient, favoring longer takes and deliberate transitions that introduce the audience to Parker's methodical mindset. This slow rhythm builds anticipation, the audience senses the energy simmering beneath the surface. By maintaining this early restraint, Glauberman sets up a strong contrast for the bursts of movement that follow. When the first major heist unfolds, the tempo suddenly accelerates. The transitions become sharper, the cuts quicker, and the rhythm of the sequence mirrors the precision and chaos of the crime itself. The juxtaposition between stillness and velocity defines the film's pulse. Montage sequences are used sparingly but effectively. Rather than employing flashy montages filled with overlaid graphics or pounding music, Glauberman opts for minimalism. A standout example occurs during Parker's preparation phase, where fragments of surveillance footage, blueprint sketches, and silent observation shots are cross-cut to convey planning and paranoia. The editing here creates a hypnotic rhythm, repetition and brevity evoke control but also obsession. Each image appears for just long enough to imprint on the viewer's mind before vanishing, creating a sense of cumulative tension. Cross-cutting becomes a major narrative tool in the second act. Glauberman uses it not only to heighten suspense but also to explore moral parallelism. During the racetrack heist, the editor intercuts between the execution of the plan and the betrayal brewing elsewhere. The rhythm is impeccable, fast enough to raise anxiety, yet paced to maintain clarity. The audience always knows where each player is and what's at stake. This balance between speed and spatial awareness is crucial in thrillers, and Play Dirty handles it with confidence. However, in later sequences, particularly during the mid-film reversals, Glauberman and Black take more risks with structure. Time becomes non-linear, with brief flashbacks interrupting forward motion. These moments serve to reveal hidden motivations, but they occasionally disrupt pacing. While the intention is to deepen character perspective, some viewers may find the shifts jarring, momentarily pulling them out of the narrative's flow. The film's rhythm across acts mirrors an arc of psychological disintegration. The first act moves with steady control, the second becomes fractured and unstable, and the final act returns to a brutal kind of simplicity. Glauberman's editing reflects Parker's internal breakdown. As he loses control, so does the rhythm of the film. Cuts become quicker, angles more abrupt, and silence shorter. In the climactic confrontation, the editing reaches peak intensity, alternating between rapid-fire crosscuts and lingering close-ups that trap us in the emotional immediacy of the moment. This contrast between velocity and stillness amplifies the final impact, allowing the audience to feel both chaos and catharsis. Transitions throughout the film are handled with subtle craft. Glauberman favors natural cuts, motivated by motion, dialogue, or light changes, over flashy visual effects. Dissolves and match cuts are used only when thematically justified, such as when a flame becomes the glow of a sunrise, symbolizing transformation. These seamless edits maintain narrative flow while embedding visual poetry. The editor's restraint is especially evident in the way she handles dialogue scenes. Rather than cutting frequently, Glauberman allows pauses to linger, trusting silence to communicate what words cannot. This trust in stillness is rare in modern thrillers and gives the film emotional weight. However, the pacing does occasionally falter. A few transitional scenes in the second act linger longer than necessary, slightly undercutting the film's tension. The attempt to balance character introspection with narrative propulsion leads to brief moments of drag. Yet these pauses are not without purpose. They provide breathing space after high-tension sequences, allowing emotional resonance to settle. By the time the story enters its final act, the pacing has recalibrated, snapping back into sharp focus. The climactic scenes unfold with perfect rhythm, every cut timed to the heartbeat of the action, every silence amplifying consequence. Emotionally, Glauberman's editing choices elevate performance and mood. During a late confrontation between Parker and his betrayer, the cuts grow slower, focusing on glances, hesitations, and micro-expressions. Each shot lasts just long enough to capture internal struggle before moving to the next, creating a rhythm that feels human rather than mechanical. In these moments, editing becomes invisible storytelling, the unspoken language that guides empathy and tension simultaneously. Sound also plays a critical role in the pacing. Glauberman works closely with the sound design team to sync cuts with auditory cues, a door closing, a gun cocking, or the distant hum of machinery, to create invisible transitions. This auditory editing enhances continuity, especially in dialogue scenes where emotional rhythm often depends more on breath and silence than on dialogue itself. By the end, Play Dirty's editing proves to be one of its strongest narrative assets. It balances clarity and complexity, ensuring that the viewer is always oriented even when the moral ground shifts beneath the characters. The rhythm adapts fluidly to emotion, pacing action and introspection with equal care. If a few non-linear elements momentarily disrupt the flow, they are outweighed by the film's consistent control over time and tension. Glauberman and Black create a cinematic rhythm that mirrors the duality at the heart of the story: precision battling chaos, professionalism clashing with emotion. The editing does not just shape the film, it becomes its invisible heartbeat, pulsing beneath every frame and carrying the story to its haunting conclusion. The soundtrack and score of Play Dirty 2025 serve as the film's hidden pulse, a sonic framework that heightens emotion, tension, and atmosphere without ever drawing too much attention to itself. Composed by Lorne Balfe, the music reflects the duality at the core of the story: cold professionalism clashing with buried humanity. Balfe's approach blends electronic minimalism with orchestral depth, producing a soundscape that feels both modern and timeless. The result is a score that doesn't just accompany the narrative but shapes how we experience it, giving rhythm to stillness and meaning to silence. Every musical cue, every moment of quiet, works in service of tone and psychology rather than spectacle. The main theme of Play Dirty is built around a simple, recurring motif, 4 descending notes played on a muted piano, underlined by a low synth pulse. This motif appears in multiple variations throughout the film, sometimes barely audible, sometimes swelling into prominence. It becomes the oral signature of Parker's inner conflict, suggesting both focus and isolation. When the movie opens with the racetrack heist, the motif is introduced slowly beneath the mechanical hum of engines, almost blending into the sound design. As the heist unravels and betrayal strikes, the motif transforms, played with distorted brass and percussive electronics, signaling chaos intruding on control. By the film's end, when Parker stands alone, the same theme returns stripped down to a single piano line, quiet, unresolved, and hauntingly incomplete. Balfe's score moves fluidly between genres, reflecting the hybrid nature of Shane Black's storytelling. There are moments of jazz-inflected rhythm, noir-style brass, and electronic undertones that pulse like the heartbeat of a city. The musical palette is intentionally sparse. Instead of bombastic action cues, the film relies on texture and rhythm. In tense scenes, percussion becomes a psychological weapon, muted, irregular beats that mimic the sound of footsteps or distant machinery. This restraint creates tension through implication rather than volume. Silence, too, becomes a musical choice. Black and Balfe use the absence of sound as a form of punctuation, letting quiet stretches intensify anticipation before a sudden musical swell snaps the audience back into awareness. Licensed music is used sparingly but with precision. Early in the film, a 1970s soul track plays on a diner jukebox as Parker meets a contact. The warmth of the music contrasts sharply with the cold professionalism of their conversation, highlighting the emotional dissonance that defines his world. Later, a blues track underscores a scene of preparation, grounding the character in a timeless rhythm of labor and risk. The film avoids over-relying on recognizable songs. When they appear, they carry narrative weight rather than nostalgia. Each choice feels deliberate, anchored to the emotional texture of the scene rather than surface aesthetics. One of the most striking uses of music occurs during the second act betrayal sequence. As Parker realizes the trap closing in, Balfe introduces a rhythmic build of industrial percussion layered with an almost imperceptible vocal hum. The tempo rises but never reaches full release, mirroring the character's suppressed panic. When violence finally erupts, the score cuts out completely, replaced by stark silence broken only by the sounds of breathing and impact. This decision amplifies realism and dread. Without musical cushioning, the brutality feels raw and immediate. The return of the score only after the chaos subsides creates emotional release without sentimentality. Balfe's use of leitmotifs subtly reinforces character arcs. Parker's motif, cold and rhythmic, contrasts with the softer string arrangement that accompanies Claire, Rosa Salazar's character. Her theme features a blend of cello and ambient synths, evoking empathy and moral contrast. When their paths intersect, their musical motifs overlap briefly, harmonizing for just a few measures before diverging again. This musical interaction mirrors their narrative relationship, brief connection, inevitable separation. It's a small but powerful detail that demonstrates how deeply integrated the score is with character development. The sound design also works hand in hand with the score. Ambient sounds, traffic, wind, machinery, often bleed into the music, blurring the line between diegetic and non-diegetic sound. In the high-rise confrontation sequence, for example, the hum of fluorescent lights blends seamlessly with a low-frequency drone from the score. This creates a claustrophobic sense of immersion, as though the environment itself is participating in the tension. The result is an auditory experience that feels alive and responsive, enhancing the visual storytelling without overshadowing it. There are a few moments where the score edges close to overstatement. During a late montage of revenge planning, the music swells with orchestral force that slightly undermines the film's otherwise restrained tone. The intention is to inject urgency, but the cue feels momentarily conventional compared to the film's otherwise minimalist approach. Fortunately, these instances are rare and quickly recalibrated. The next scene often returns to a more subdued rhythm, restoring tonal balance. What stands out most about the soundtrack is its emotional precision. The music never dictates what the audience should feel, it amplifies what is already there. In one quietly devastating scene near the end, Parker watches from a distance as Claire walks away, unaware he is alive. The scene plays almost entirely in silence, with only the faint echo of the main motif played on solo violin. The restraint makes the moment hit harder. The music doesn't explain the emotion, it releases it. By the time the film concludes, the score has built an unspoken relationship with the viewer. Each return of the motif carries accumulated meaning, evolving as Parker's character does. The final credits feature a reimagined version of the theme, slower, softer, with ambient echoes fading into silence. It feels less like an ending and more like a lingering memory, suggesting unresolved consequence. In the end, the soundtrack and score of Play Dirty 2025 are not decorative layers, they are narrative instruments. Balfe's compositions and Shane Black's direction work in harmony to create a sonic world that mirrors the film's moral ambiguity and emotional restraint. Through a mix of subtle motifs, controlled silences, and perfectly timed cues, the music becomes a language of its own. It speaks for the characters when they cannot, carries tension when dialogue falls silent, and leaves echoes long after the final image fades. Beneath its crime thriller surface, Play Dirty 2025 is a film deeply preoccupied with the moral cost of professionalism, the illusion of control, and the struggle for redemption in a world that no longer rewards conscience. Shane Black's storytelling, paired with the sharp script and tightly wound performances, turns what could have been a straightforward revenge narrative into a meditation on identity and moral survival. At its core, Play Dirty is not simply about heists or betrayal, it's about what remains of a person when all loyalty, trust, and humanity have been stripped away. Through its protagonist Parker and the world he inhabits, the film examines how professionalism and violence can coexist, how self-discipline can become its own prison, and how revenge can blur into self-destruction. One of the film's most dominant themes is identity. Parker, played with precise restraint by Mark Wahlberg, is a man who lives by a code that defines him more than any personal desire. He doesn't kill unless necessary, doesn't betray, and doesn't act without a plan. His code becomes both his armor and his limitation. Throughout the film, his sense of identity is tested, deconstructed, and rebuilt. Each betrayal forces him to confront who he truly is beneath the mask of discipline. The cinematography and editing reinforce this theme by constantly framing Parker between reflections, mirrors, glass, water, visual reminders of his fragmented self. The movie's title, Play Dirty, suggests the central tension between morality and necessity. To survive in this world, Parker must compromise his principles, but each compromise erodes the man he's trying to preserve. Revenge is the engine of the plot, but not its destination. Play Dirty treats vengeance not as empowerment but as corrosion. The act of getting even becomes an existential trap. Every victory feels hollow because it confirms how much the protagonist has already lost. Parker's revenge isn't portrayed as righteous, it's transactional, professional, almost surgical. This approach strips the act of glamour and reveals its emptiness. In several key moments, the film uses silence instead of triumphal music after a violent act, underlining the emotional void that follows. The result is a haunting reflection on how revenge consumes purpose rather than restores it. Redemption is another undercurrent that flows through the narrative. Claire, played by Rosa Salazar, serves as the emotional counterweight to Parker's cold logic. Her character challenges his detachment, offering glimpses of empathy in a world ruled by betrayal. Yet the film refuses to indulge in easy sentimentality. Redemption here is never fully achieved. Instead, it is hinted at through gestures. Parker sparing an enemy, a look of regret, a refusal to pull the trigger when he easily could. These moments suggest that moral clarity can exist even in the darkest spaces, but it must be fought for, not found. Power and control weave throughout the story as parallel themes. Parker's entire existence revolves around control, over situations, people, and emotions. But the film continually undercuts this illusion. Every meticulously planned move unravels, every system of loyalty collapses. The message is clear, control is temporary, and the world doesn't bend to principle. Shane Black visualizes this through recurring motifs of unstable environments, collapsing structures, flickering lights, and unpredictable betrayals. The visual and narrative rhythm reinforces the idea that chaos is the natural state, and control is merely an illusion sustained by willpower. Fear also lingers quietly beneath the story's surface. It's not fear of death but of irrelevance, of losing one's place in a system built on power and loyalty. Parker's fear is existential. He cannot live outside his code, yet his code is what isolates him. This paradox fuels his internal conflict and gives the film its emotional edge. Every character in Play Dirty operates under fear of betrayal, exposure, or loss of control. Even the antagonists, played by LaKeith Stanfield and Tom Hardy, are driven less by greed than by desperation. The movie portrays fear not as weakness but as the inevitable byproduct of survival in a corrupt ecosystem. Another layer of the film's thematic core is professionalism as morality. The criminals in Play Dirty measure integrity not by goodness but by adherence to rules. To play dirty means to operate outside the moral laws of society while still following one's personal code. This distinction gives the film philosophical weight. It suggests that morality is relative, shaped by context and necessity. Parker's mantra, "You don't steal from the job, and you don't kill unless you have to," becomes a kind of dark ethics, a system that allows order to exist in chaos. Yet by the end, even this structure begins to crumble, leaving Parker in a moral no man's land. Love, in Play Dirty, is less about romance and more about connection. The film uses brief emotional exchanges between Parker and Claire to explore the possibility of trust in a world built on deception. Their relationship is tentative and fleeting, but it gives the story emotional depth. Through their interactions, the film questions whether empathy can survive in an environment that rewards cold efficiency. In one of the film's most poignant moments, Parker lets Claire walk away rather than draw her deeper into his life, a decision that reflects both love and resignation. The film's visual and sonic language reinforces these themes subtly but powerfully. Shadows and reflective surfaces mirror inner duplicity, while the recurring musical motif underscores cycles of repetition and futility. Even the pacing mirrors Parker's moral erosion, slow and methodical at first, then disjointed and unstable as his clarity fades. Ultimately, Play Dirty 2025 is about the human cost of maintaining control in a chaotic world. It examines how codes and principles can give meaning but also imprison, how revenge masquerades as justice, and how redemption may exist only in fleeting acts of restraint. Shane Black delivers a story that challenges the audience to question where morality ends and survival begins. The film's greatest success lies in how it expresses these ideas not through dialogue but through rhythm, silence, and visual texture. Beneath the surface of violence and betrayal lies a haunting message: to play dirty long enough is to lose sight of the game, and perhaps of oneself. Visual effects and CGI in Play Dirty 2025 serve as an invisible but vital component of Shane Black's cinematic toolkit. Rather than overwhelming the audience with spectacle, the film's digital work enhances realism, grounds the action in authenticity, and subtly supports the film's gritty tone. Play Dirty is not a science fiction or superhero film, it's a grounded crime thriller, but even in its realism, the story demands a level of technical precision that allows the visuals to feel immersive, tactile, and modern. From its seamless compositing to its restrained use of CGI for environmental enhancement, the film demonstrates how visual effects can elevate storytelling without calling attention to themselves. The film's visual language leans heavily on a fusion of practical effects and digital augmentation. Shane Black, known for his preference for realism, employs CGI as a tool of enhancement rather than replacement. Explosions, gunfire, car crashes, and city backdrops all begin with practical setups, later refined with digital layers to achieve the film's crisp, high-contrast aesthetic. One standout sequence involves a nighttime chase across the Los Angeles River Basin, where rain, reflections, and debris create a chaotic yet visually coherent landscape. Much of the rain was digitally added to enhance atmosphere and continuity across shots. The result feels natural and cinematic without ever betraying the presence of visual manipulation. The opening heist sequence is another example of the film's balanced approach to VFX. It features a meticulously choreographed robbery inside a high-security facility, filled with surveillance screens, motion detectors, and shifting lights. Here, CGI is used not for flash but for believability. Digital monitors display live feeds, holographic security projections shimmer subtly in the background, and reinforced glass shatters in ways that look precise yet physical. The compositing work is tight, and transitions between real and digital elements are almost imperceptible. This seamless integration keeps the audience immersed in the action rather than distracted by visual trickery. One of the most technically sophisticated sequences comes later in the film during a high-speed car pursuit through downtown Los Angeles. While many of the stunts were performed practically, CGI was employed to extend city environments, enhance reflections on wet pavement, and composite background explosions. What's remarkable is how restrained these effects feel. Instead of leaning into hyper-real motion blur or unrealistic physics, the VFX team prioritized physical accuracy. Each vehicle's movement respects weight, friction, and inertia. The digital enhancements serve the camera rather than dominate it. This commitment to grounded realism gives Play Dirty its muscular, tactile visual texture. The film also uses subtle environmental CGI to reflect thematic tone. For example, throughout the movie, cityscapes are occasionally extended with matte-painted skylines that suggest both beauty and decay. The digital skies, muted, smoky, and heavy with industrial haze, add a melancholic tone that mirrors Parker's moral erosion. This environmental world-building feels invisible to most viewers, yet it enriches the film's atmosphere with emotional weight. Visual effects here act as narrative subtext, reinforcing the film's mood without verbal exposition. Practical effects remain central to the film's physicality. The gunfights, for instance, are built on practical pyrotechnics and squib hits, later touched up digitally to add muzzle flashes, debris trails, and blood mist. The integration between physical and digital work is so tight that it's difficult to distinguish where one ends and the other begins. This synthesis gives Play Dirty a texture reminiscent of older crime thrillers while benefiting from modern polish. The visual effects team's approach evokes the grounded realism of Michael Mann's Heat, but filtered through contemporary digital precision. There are, however, a few moments where the CGI becomes noticeable, though not intrusive. In a brief rooftop explosion scene, the digital fire behaves slightly too fluidly, lacking the chaotic flicker of true combustion. Similarly, a late film sequence involving a collapsing parking structure relies heavily on digital destruction. While technically impressive, the lighting and debris physics occasionally feel a touch too clean, momentarily breaking the film's otherwise impeccable realism. These instances are rare but remind the audience of how delicate the balance between spectacle and authenticity can be. The film's visual effects team, reportedly led by Industrial Light and Magic and several boutique studios specializing in compositing and simulation, approached Play Dirty with the goal of subtlety. Their philosophy seems clear: effects must serve narrative clarity, not ego. This ethos is evident in the way digital tools enhance Shane Black's visual storytelling. Instead of replacing what can be shot practically, the CGI works as a supporting layer, cleaning reflections, extending locations, or stitching together complex camera movements. One such moment occurs during a tracking shot that moves through multiple rooms of a mansion during a shootout. The camera transitions between spaces with impossible precision, achieved through hidden digital stitching. The viewer never questions the camera's movement because it feels fluid and continuous, maintaining immersion and pacing. Lighting plays a crucial role in making the effects feel grounded. Cinematographer Larry Fong collaborated closely with the VFX team to ensure that every digital addition matched the film's noir-inspired lighting palette, moody, contrast-heavy, with pools of warm tungsten against cold steel blues. This consistent visual tone keeps CGI from standing out. Even digital enhancements like dust, smoke, and sparks were color-matched to the cinematography's palette, ensuring cohesion. What makes Play Dirty's visual effects exceptional is their invisibility. The film understands that in a grounded crime story, excessive CGI risks shattering suspension of disbelief. The effects serve as infrastructure, not decoration. They allow Shane Black to stage action sequences with precision, manipulate space and rhythm, and subtly evoke emotion through visual design. Even in its most chaotic scenes, every effect feels motivated by story, character, and theme. In the end, Play Dirty 2025 stands as an example of modern restraint in digital filmmaking. Its visual effects elevate realism, not spectacle, allowing the audience to stay engaged with the story's emotional and moral tension. Whether through the subtle shimmer of rain on asphalt, the seamless blending of digital destruction, or the atmospheric augmentation of city skylines, every effect exists to support Shane Black's vision of a world where control is an illusion and every detail matters. The result is a film where VFX are felt more than seen, an invisible craft that transforms gritty realism into cinematic poetry. The set design and location work in Play Dirty 2025 form one of the film's most immersive and defining aspects, grounding the gritty crime narrative in a tangible, lived-in world that feels both cinematic and authentic. Directed by Shane Black, the film's production design walks a delicate balance between stylization and realism. Every space, from sunburnt Los Angeles streets to dimly lit safe houses, carries the fingerprint of history and character psychology. Nothing feels accidental or overly polished. Instead, the world of Play Dirty reflects a layered, morally gray reality that mirrors the film's tone and its protagonist's fractured morality. The production designer, Chris Seegers, known for his work on films like Kingsman and Edge of Tomorrow, brings a textured realism to every environment. His approach combines practical set builds with carefully scouted real-world locations across Los Angeles, New Orleans, and select urban spaces in Atlanta. Each setting tells a story before a single word of dialogue is spoken. The result is a world that feels occupied, walls are stained, furniture is mismatched, and every object hints at the passage of time and the decisions made by those who live within it. One of the film's standout locations is Parker's apartment, introduced early in the story. It's small, functional, and slightly disheveled, revealing much about Jason Statham's character without exposition. The set is filled with muted colors, worn-out leather, and scattered reminders of a life spent on the move, an unmade bed, a half-empty bottle of whiskey, and an old revolver kept within reach. The production design subtly communicates the isolation and moral fatigue of a man who has lived too long in the shadows. Lighting complements this atmosphere, using low-key practicals like desk lamps and sodium street glow filtering through blinds to enhance the noir undertone. By contrast, Hugh Grant's character, the corrupt real estate magnate Michael Parker, occupies a vastly different world. His home and offices exude calculated wealth, marble countertops, glass walls, minimalist decor, and sterile perfection. Yet beneath the sheen lies cold emptiness. The art on the walls feels impersonal, chosen more for prestige than emotion. This dichotomy between environments, Statham's lived-in grit versus Grant's hollow luxury, visualizes the film's moral divide. The design team cleverly uses environment as storytelling shorthand, letting the audience sense who these men are long before they reveal themselves through dialogue. One of the film's most memorable set pieces takes place in an abandoned seaside amusement park, used as a hideout and confrontation zone in the second act. The rusted rides, flickering lights, and decaying signage evoke nostalgia twisted by neglect. This location, largely a practical build supplemented by digital extensions, creates a surreal sense of faded glamour that parallels the characters' broken ambitions. The art department's attention to detail is striking. Old popcorn machines still filled with dust, graffiti carved into wooden rails, and weather-worn posters that suggest happier times. The texture of the set builds emotional tension, making the sequence as visually powerful as it is narratively charged. Another major location is the downtown Heist setting, a mix of practical builds and real architecture. The team transformed an actual Los Angeles bank into a cinematic maze of steel and glass, adding temporary elements like reinforced vault doors and motion-sensitive lighting rigs. Every angle of the space was designed to heighten suspense. The sterile modern design of the bank contrasts sharply with the raw, improvisational tactics of Statham's crew, creating a visual tension that mirrors the moral one. Small production details, like the placement of security monitors, scattered cash bundles, and a malfunctioning air vent, contribute not just to realism but to storytelling rhythm. The outdoor locations in Play Dirty further expand its visual and thematic palette. Shane Black's Los Angeles isn't the glamorous city of studio backlots. It's a layered urban sprawl that shifts from industrial wastelands to glittering skyline views, showing the duality of ambition and decay. Scenes shot in the dry outskirts and concrete riverbeds reinforce the feeling of desolation and isolation. The cinematography captures these spaces with clarity, but it's the production design that gives them identity. Graffiti-tagged walls, broken neon signs, and trash-strewn alleys create a sense of authenticity that anchors the more stylized narrative. Seegers and his team also employ color psychology throughout the set design. Parker's environments often use muted browns and blues, representing moral ambiguity and emotional restraint. In contrast, the antagonist spaces favor whites, silvers, and sterile light, an aesthetic of control and detachment. As the story progresses and Parker begins to blur ethical lines, his environments subtly reflect this transformation. His hideouts grow darker, more claustrophobic, filled with reflective surfaces and tighter framing. These visual cues guide the audience subconsciously through his internal descent. Props and set dressing play an equally significant role in shaping the film's realism. Every item feels curated for character rather than convenience. The guns, for example, are not polished hero props. They're worn, scratched, and carry the weight of use. Vehicles are chosen for personality rather than style. Old muscle cars with mismatched paint, dented sedans, and anonymous SUVs all suggest a grounded world where practicality trumps flash. Even small design choices, like the chipped tiles in a bathroom or the faded posters in a bar, speak to the attention to realism that elevates the film's tone. The use of studio sets versus real locations is smartly balanced. Many interiors, such as the mansion shootout and underground hideout sequences, were built on sound stages, allowing for controlled lighting and camera movement. Yet they're designed to mimic real-world imperfection, with rough textures and organic clutter. This mix allows the film to maintain both visual precision and raw authenticity. The sets never feel artificial because every corner is layered with story-driven detail. Ultimately, the production design of Play Dirty 2025 is as vital to its storytelling as its performances or dialogue. Through texture, color, and spatial storytelling, the world feels alive, morally complex, and reflective of its characters' inner states. The attention to environmental psychology, how spaces reflect choices, guilt, and power, makes the film's universe feel immersive and emotionally grounded. It's a masterclass in invisible design, where every element works not to draw attention, but to make the viewer believe in the world being shown. In Play Dirty, the sets don't just frame the story, they become silent narrators of it. The dialogue and script in Play Dirty 2025 stand as a hallmark of Shane Black's signature style, razor-sharp, rhythmically playful, and steeped in moral ambiguity. The screenplay, co-written by Shane Black and Chuck Mondry, adapts Donald E. Westlake's novel with a keen understanding of tone and texture. It's a film where words don't just convey information, they reveal power dynamics, personality, and tension beneath the surface. The script blends sardonic humor with grit, giving every exchange a dual edge, part entertainment, part psychological warfare. Every line feels deliberate, crafted to build atmosphere, deepen character, or propel conflict without ever drifting into exposition-heavy dialogue. At its core, Play Dirty's script thrives on contrast. The conversations between Jason Statham's Parker and the world around him oscillate between terse, hard-boiled exchanges and moments of surprising introspection. Parker is a man of few words, and when he speaks, his dialogue carries weight. His lines are clipped, efficient, often ending before the listener expects them to. This minimalism captures both his control and emotional repression. Statham's performance amplifies this, but the writing gives him room to let silence speak. When Parker says, "People talk too much when they're scared. I've learned to stay quiet," it's not just a statement of method, it's a philosophy that defines his arc. Hugh Grant's dialogue, by contrast, is verbose, charming, and manipulative. Playing the slippery and morally corrupt businessman Michael Parker, he uses language as a weapon. His monologues flow with irony and confidence, dripping with the arrogance of privilege. Lines like, "You mistake risk for courage, my friend. I sell both and sleep better for it," exemplify the film's thematic sharpness. Through dialogue alone, the script pits these two men against each other, one speaking through silence, the other through excess. The contrast becomes a battle of styles as much as wills. The supporting characters also carry distinct vocal identities. Aubrey Plaza's character, a cynical yet sharp-witted insider who allies with Parker, delivers dialogue laced with dry sarcasm and sharp observational humor. Her lines often serve as tonal release valves between tense sequences. When she remarks, "In this city, everyone's gotta hustle. Yours just comes with better shoes," it encapsulates both her worldview and the film's cynical humor. These quips never feel gratuitous, they deepen our understanding of her intelligence and survival instincts. One of Shane Black's most notable strengths as a writer is his use of subtext. In Play Dirty, conversations often mean more than they say. When Parker negotiates, threatens, or comforts, the dialogue reveals psychological maneuvering beneath every word. A simple line like, "You owe me more than money," becomes loaded with emotional and moral implication depending on context. The film rarely spells out its emotional beats. Instead, it trusts the audience to pick up cues through pauses, eye contact, and rhythm. The use of ellipses, moments where dialogue trails off into silence, feels intentional and expressive. Black uses these pauses as punctuation marks in human conflict, letting unsaid truths hang heavy in the air. In terms of tone, the script is quintessentially Shane Black, smart, cynical, and self-aware. The humor doesn't undercut the tension, it intensifies it by making the characters feel alive. Even during dark or violent scenes, a well-timed line or ironic observation keeps the film grounded in human absurdity. This tonal control is particularly evident in the mid-film heist sequence, where tension builds through minimal dialogue punctuated by sardonic one-liners. Instead of lengthy explanations, the characters communicate through shorthand, gestures, and irony, making the scene both suspenseful and authentic. The screenplay's structure mirrors its dialogue style: tight, rhythm-driven, and deliberate. Conversations are never wasted, even casual exchanges serve a purpose. A scene early in the film where Parker haggles with a contact over fake IDs doubles as a thematic setup for the story's moral tension. You want clean names in a dirty world? That'll cost extra, the contact says, a line that foreshadows Parker's struggle to maintain a code in a corrupt environment. This layering of meaning gives Play Dirty its narrative density. The film also uses silence as a form of dialogue. Some of its most powerful moments occur when characters stop talking altogether. A late scene between Parker and a woman he betrays unfolds almost entirely without words, relying on body language and visual storytelling. The absence of dialogue forces the audience to read emotion through space and expression, making it far more impactful than any line could have been. This restraint speaks to the confidence of the script and direction. It knows when not to speak. However, the script is not flawless. At times, its commitment to stylized banter can feel overly clever, particularly in supporting interactions. Some exchanges sound like they were written to be quotable rather than natural. In a few spots, especially in exposition scenes involving secondary characters, the dialogue leans slightly on genre cliché. Yet these moments are rare and often forgiven because the overall voice of the script is so assured and distinctive. The thematic resonance of the dialogue deserves particular praise. Play Dirty is about morality, greed, and survival, and its script communicates those ideas not through speeches but through conversational tension. When characters lie, manipulate, or bargain, they expose their moral boundaries. The recurring motif of cleaning up messes recurs in dialogue in multiple forms, sometimes literal, sometimes philosophical, creating a linguistic thread that binds the film's themes together. Ultimately, the dialogue and script of Play Dirty 2025 combine intelligence, rhythm, and emotional undercurrent. It's a film that respects the audience's ability to listen between lines. Every piece of dialogue serves as a chess move, revealing who holds control in any given moment. Shane Black's writing doesn't just describe the world, it embodies it, full of irony, sharpness, and weary humor. The result is a screenplay that feels alive, less like a script and more like overheard conversation between people who've lived too hard and know too much. Play Dirty speaks softly but cuts deep, using dialogue as both weapon and mirror in a world where words are as dangerous as bullets. Play Dirty 2025 stands as a hard-edged neo-noir action thriller that revitalizes familiar genre conventions with Shane Black's trademark wit, moral complexity, and visual precision. At its core, the film belongs to the crime thriller genre, but it also fuses elements of character-driven drama and psychological tension, creating something that feels both classic and fresh. The movie pays homage to the pulp thrillers of the 1970s while injecting them with the pace and technical sophistication of modern Hollywood filmmaking. It's less about big explosions and spectacle and more about precision, tension, and personality. The genre execution here shows an understanding of audience expectations while also challenging them with depth and restraint. From the opening scene, Play Dirty signals its allegiance to the noir tradition. The film begins not with a massive action set piece but with atmosphere, a brooding tone, a morally ambiguous protagonist, and a sense of unease that permeates every frame. This slow burn opening aligns with the noir ethos of character over chaos. The audience expects action from a Jason Statham film, but what they get here is calculated violence framed by psychological stakes. The genre's DNA is present: crime, betrayal, corruption, but it's treated with maturity rather than indulgence. Black respects the classic beats of the crime thriller but reshapes them through his storytelling rhythm and modern pacing. One of the film's greatest successes lies in how it balances the crime and action elements. Traditional action thrillers often lean heavily on choreography and visual excess, but Play Dirty finds its energy in tension and timing. When violence erupts, it feels earned and brutal rather than decorative. The genre expectations of adrenaline and danger are satisfied, but the film resists the temptation to glamorize chaos. The action scenes are choreographed with sharp realism, gunfights are brief, messy, and terrifyingly intimate. Every punch, every bullet, has consequence. This grounded approach separates the film from typical action thrillers, giving it a texture closer to Heat or Drive than to traditional blockbuster fare. The noir influences are unmistakable and deliberate. The narrative structure follows a morally conflicted anti-hero caught between personal code and professional necessity, a defining trope of the genre. Jason Statham's Parker embodies the lone wolf archetype with a twist. He's not just a criminal trying to survive, but a man trying to preserve integrity in a world that has forgotten what integrity means. This is a classic noir dilemma: reframed through modern cynicism. Shane Black's writing plays into this duality, offering audiences familiar emotional beats, the betrayal, the double cross, the femme fatale, but filtered through contemporary realism and sharp dialogue. What makes Play Dirty distinctive in its genre execution is its willingness to let character moments take precedence over constant motion. Many modern thrillers rely on speed and spectacle to keep audiences engaged, but Black trusts his script and actors to maintain tension through stillness and subtext. This approach is a nod to traditional noir pacing, where suspense builds from what's implied rather than what's shown. The genre's expectation of escalating stakes is still met, but it's done with narrative precision. The mid-film Heist, for instance, doesn't just serve as an action centerpiece, it also crystallizes the moral tension between trust and betrayal that defines the story. Visually, the film reinforces its genre identity through deliberate choices in color, framing, and tone. The cinematography draws from noir iconography, shadows, reflective surfaces, and chiaroscuro lighting, but updated for a modern digital aesthetic. It's not nostalgia, it's evolution. The night sequences glimmer with controlled artificial light, while daytime scenes feel washed in heat and exhaustion, reflecting the dual nature of crime and consequence. These aesthetic decisions enhance genre authenticity without feeling derivative. In terms of narrative structure, Play Dirty adheres to the thriller blueprint: setup, escalation, betrayal, and reckoning. Yet Shane Black's storytelling style injects unpredictability into familiar beats. The script avoids easy resolutions and cliched character arcs. There's no clean redemption, no moral sermonizing. The genre expectation of justice is intentionally left ambiguous, leaving the audience questioning whether Parker's survival constitutes victory or tragedy. This subversion is both refreshing and risky. It satisfies fans of serious thrillers but may frustrate those looking for traditional closure. Comparing Play Dirty to its genre peers highlights its deliberate restraint. Where films like The Equalizer or John Wick emphasize operatic vengeance, Play Dirty narrows its focus to psychological and procedural realism. The violence serves the story rather than drives it. Black uses genre expectations as a framework but injects his own personality into it. His sharp, dialogue-driven scenes and focus on flawed humanity ground the film in emotional truth. In this sense, Play Dirty aligns more closely with films like Collateral, Thief, and The Town. Stories that use crime as a vehicle for character exploration. The film also toys with audience expectations in subtle ways. For instance, the femme fatale character, often a staple of noir storytelling, is subverted. Instead of manipulation through seduction, her power comes from intelligence and pragmatism. The relationship dynamics are modernized without losing the tension of the genre's origins. Similarly, the antagonist, played by Hugh Grant, is not a stereotypical gangster or warlord but a polished businessman, a reflection of contemporary corruption. This modernization gives the genre renewed relevance, suggesting that greed and exploitation have evolved just as crime itself has. Even the humor in Play Dirty is genre-conscious. Shane Black's dark wit functions as both homage and critique of noir dialogue. Lines crackle with sarcasm and irony, but they never feel anachronistic. The humor humanizes the characters and relieves pressure without breaking immersion. This tonal balance keeps the film from sinking into self-seriousness, a common trap for neo-noir thrillers. Ultimately, Play Dirty succeeds because it understands its genre from the inside out. It delivers what fans of crime thrillers crave: mystery, tension, and morally gray characters, but filters it through modern sensibility, rejecting excess for precision. The film honors its noir heritage without being trapped by it, achieving something rare, a thriller that feels both timeless and contemporary. It rewards patient viewers who appreciate atmosphere, dialogue, and character-driven storytelling while still offering enough kinetic energy to satisfy action enthusiasts. In an era when many thrillers chase spectacle over soul, Play Dirty 2025 proves that genre mastery comes from understanding restraint. Shane Black doesn't reinvent the crime thriller, he refines it. Every genre beat is earned, every trope reinterpreted, and every expectation met with intelligence. It's a film that plays by the rules just long enough to break them, and that's what makes its execution so compelling. Play Dirty 2025, directed by Shane Black, functions not only as a sharp-edged crime thriller but also as a subtle social and cultural commentary on the moral decay of modern capitalism, corruption, and the cost of integrity in a world driven by greed. Beneath its gritty surface and genre stylings, the film critiques the systems that reward deception, punish loyalty, and blur the line between criminal enterprise and corporate ambition. It's a story that mirrors the anxieties of a society where honesty has become a liability and survival often depends on compromise. Through its characters and world building, Play Dirty explores how corruption seeps into every layer of power, from the streets to the boardroom, reflecting a cultural moment defined by moral exhaustion and cynicism. The film's central character Parker, played by Jason Statham, serves as a prism through which Shane Black examines the erosion of personal ethics. Parker is a professional thief who follows his own code, never cheat partners, never hurt innocents, but finds himself surrounded by individuals who have no such boundaries. This tension between personal honor and systemic corruption becomes a metaphor for the modern world. In today's culture, where integrity often feels obsolete, Parker's struggle to hold on to his code resonates as a critique of a society that has normalized betrayal as a strategy. The film asks a crucial question: what does morality mean in an age where the most successful people are often the least ethical? Through its narrative, Play Dirty comments on capitalism's moral vacuum. The criminals in the film are not portrayed as chaotic villains, but as businessmen who understand the transactional nature of power. Hugh Grant's character, the manipulative and sophisticated mastermind behind the central heist, represents the polished face of corruption, a corporate criminal who hides behind suits and contracts rather than guns and violence. This portrayal draws a clear line between street crime and white-collar crime, then blurs it completely, showing that both operate under the same principles: greed, control, and self-preservation. It's a critique of a system where exploitation is legal as long as it's dressed in professionalism. Black's script doesn't preach, but it subtly integrates these ideas into character motivations and plot design. The film's title itself, Play Dirty, serves as both a command and an observation. It suggests that success in today's world requires moral compromise. Every major player in the story bends the rules to survive, yet the film never romanticizes this behavior. Instead, it forces the audience to confront their complicity in a culture that rewards corruption. By grounding the story in personal choices rather than political rhetoric, Play Dirty becomes an allegory for modern ethics, or the lack thereof. Socially, the film captures a sense of disillusionment that defines contemporary Western society. It reflects the public's loss of faith in institutions, government, law enforcement, corporate leadership, and replaces traditional heroes with anti-heroes. This thematic shift mirrors real-world skepticism about authority figures. Parker's distrust of everyone around him, including supposed allies, reflects a wider social mood of paranoia and disconnection. In this world, trust is not a virtue but a liability. This dynamic resonates strongly with audiences who feel alienated by systems that prioritize profit and power over human decency. Culturally, Play Dirty touches on the modern obsession with image and manipulation. The criminals in the film operate not just through force but through deception and performance. They understand that perception is power, a commentary on how contemporary culture, especially in the digital age, values appearance over authenticity. The film subtly critiques the performative morality of modern society, where people and corporations project virtue while engaging in self-serving behavior behind closed doors. This duality gives the story a distinctly modern relevance, making it less about crime itself and more about the culture of hypocrisy surrounding it. Another layer of commentary emerges in the film's depiction of gender and power. While the noir genre traditionally relies on the archetype of the femme fatale, Play Dirty modernizes this trope. The female lead is not defined by manipulation or sexuality but by strategic intelligence and control. She operates with the same ruthlessness as her male counterparts but within a system that constantly underestimates her. This evolution speaks to changing gender dynamics in modern storytelling and society, where power is no longer confined to traditional archetypes. The film subtly critiques how women must often play dirty in order to survive in male-dominated structures, mirroring real-world struggles for equality and recognition. Politically, Play Dirty resists overt alignment but clearly echoes frustrations with systemic inequality. Its world is populated by people left behind by legitimate systems, forced to operate in moral gray zones. This undercurrent gives the film a populist edge. It sympathizes with those who must bend the rules to survive but never excuses their choices. The corruption of the powerful is presented not as exceptional but as normalized, reinforcing the notion that the real rot exists at the top. Shane Black, known for infusing sharp commentary into entertainment, crafts a narrative that implicates both individuals and institutions in sustaining cycles of exploitation. Where the film might risk oversimplification is in its portrayal of cynicism as universal. The story suggests that everyone is compromised, that there is no moral center left. While this fits noir tradition, it can feel overly fatalistic for modern viewers who crave hope or redemption. However, this bleak worldview may also be the point. Play Dirty reflects a culture jaded by repeated betrayals, from economic collapse to political scandal. It doesn't offer solutions but instead mirrors the collective exhaustion of an era where doing the right thing often leads to loss rather than reward. The film's social resonance lies in how it makes viewers question their own complicity in this moral landscape. It forces uncomfortable reflection. How often do we play dirty in our own ways to get ahead or protect ourselves? By framing these questions within a fast-paced thriller, Shane Black ensures the commentary never feels forced or moralizing. Instead, it emerges organically from the characters' choices and the consequences they face. Ultimately, Play Dirty 2025 succeeds as both an entertaining crime thriller and a mirror held up to modern society. It examines corruption not as an external force but as a condition of survival in an ethically compromised world. Through its nuanced social commentary, it invites audiences to recognize that the line between right and wrong has not just blurred, it's been erased by ambition, greed, and fear. In doing so, the film captures the uneasy pulse of the present moment, reminding us that in a world built on corruption, staying clean might be the dirtiest game of all. Audience engagement in Play Dirty 2025 comes from its sharp blend of tension, wit, and emotional unpredictability. Shane Black crafts a film that invites not only immediate reactions, gasps, laughs, and moments of stunned silence, but also deeper reflection long after the credits roll. The movie's world of double crosses, moral gray areas, and razor-edged humor keeps audiences on edge, unsure who to trust and what's coming next. It's that uncertainty, paired with moments of human vulnerability amid chaos, that gives Play Dirty its staying power. Each scene is designed to provoke an instinctive emotional response while leaving enough ambiguity to spark debate among viewers. The first major hook comes early in the film, during a meticulously planned heist that goes disastrously wrong. The sequence is choreographed with such precision that viewers feel the adrenaline of every decision. The tension builds slowly, and then explodes in a series of betrayals and reversals that redefine what the movie is really about. This is the kind of scene audiences will replay, looking for small visual or dialogue cues that hinted at the twist. It's also one that elicits immediate gasps in theaters, a classic Shane Black opening, blending action with sharp, cynical humor. Play Dirty doesn't just rely on spectacle. Its emotional weight comes from quieter exchanges that expose the characters' inner conflicts. A scene between Jason Statham's Parker and the female lead, played with layered restraint by the supporting actress, offers a rare pause amid chaos. Their conversation about loyalty and survival becomes a turning point for both the characters and the audience. The dialogue, taut yet understated, reveals exhaustion beneath their bravado. Viewers are likely to remember this scene not for what is said, but for what isn't. The silence that lingers after their exchange becomes one of the film's emotional anchors. The humor in Play Dirty, much like Shane Black's earlier work, keeps tension from suffocating the narrative. Witty exchanges between crooks and corporate villains, sarcastic one-liners in moments of danger, and the absurdity of greed-fueled chaos generate laughter that feels earned rather than forced. These comedic beats make the darker turns hit even harder, because the film understands that humor and tragedy often coexist in human experience. Audience reactions during these scenes are likely to range from laughter to uneasy recognition, another layer of engagement that goes beyond simple entertainment. One of the most talked-about sequences will likely be the climactic standoff, set against a stark, rain-soaked industrial backdrop. It's not just an action finale but an emotional confrontation where every betrayal and broken code comes to light. The choreography and pacing are tight, but it's the character dynamics that make the moment unforgettable. Parker's calm defiance, the antagonist's unraveling composure, and the moral irony of their confrontation elevate this beyond typical genre fare. Viewers will debate the ending's ambiguity, whether Parker's final act represents redemption or surrender, and that discussion will keep the film alive in online spaces and fan circles. Play Dirty also rewards attentive viewing. Its layered narrative structure, peppered with visual callbacks and mirrored dialogue, gives audiences reason to revisit it. A small gesture in an early scene might gain new meaning after the twist in the third act. A seemingly throwaway line later echoes as a moral statement. Shane Black's signature attention to rhythm and detail ensures that each rewatch deepens understanding. This rewatchability factor is key to the film's longevity. It's not just thrilling on the first viewing but intellectually satisfying on the second or third. From a social media perspective, the film offers moments tailor-made for sharing. Statham's deadpan reactions, A particularly sharp piece of dialogue, or the visual irony of a heist gone wrong will generate GIFs, memes, and online debates. The movie's mix of dark humor and moral ambiguity fits perfectly into modern online discourse, where audiences love unpacking layered characters and morally complex storytelling. Expect fans to debate which side of Parker's code they'd fall on, whether he's a principled outlaw or simply another opportunist playing a dirtier game. The film's emotional core is likely to resonate most strongly with viewers who see reflections of their own compromises in the characters' choices. Parker's conflict, whether to hold on to his principles or adapt to survive, speaks to a universal struggle in a cynical world. Viewers may find themselves sympathizing with a man who operates outside the law but maintains a personal sense of justice. This moral relatability transforms the film from a stylish crime story into an emotional experience. It's that connection, rather than the action alone, that keeps audiences engaged long after the film ends. Shane Black's direction ensures that every major scene feels purposeful in driving audience engagement. He builds emotional rhythm through contrast, quiet reflection followed by explosive chaos, humor followed by heartbreak. This deliberate pacing manipulates tension in ways that keep viewers emotionally invested. Even when the plot slows, the audience stays alert, anticipating the next revelation or reversal. That sustained engagement is a hallmark of effective storytelling, and it gives Play Dirty a cinematic pulse that doesn't fade once the lights come up. Another layer of audience connection comes from the film's moral grayness. Rather than offering a clear hero or villain, it invites viewers to interpret motivations for themselves. This ambiguity fuels post-viewing debates: who really betrayed whom, who deserved justice, and what playing dirty truly means in the film's moral universe. It's the kind of movie that generates conversation, analysis videos, and Reddit threads dissecting every frame. Ultimately, Play Dirty 2025 engages audiences not just through spectacle but through emotional and intellectual tension. It's a film that commands attention during its runtime and invites re-examination afterward. Whether viewers are drawn by the clever writing, sharp performances, or moral complexity, they'll find something that lingers: an image, a line, or a question that refuses to leave. The best movies spark conversation, and Play Dirty does exactly that. It earns its engagement by trusting the audience to think, feel, and argue about what they've just witnessed. It's not merely a film you watch, it's one you wrestle with, discuss, and revisit, because every time you think you understand it, it plays a little dirtier than before. When comparing Play Dirty 2025 to other films in its genre and to Shane Black's previous work, it becomes clear that the movie fits neatly into his established cinematic DNA while pushing his storytelling style into darker and more reflective territory. The film belongs to the gritty crime action genre but carries the hallmarks of Black's signature blend of noir sensibilities, cynical humor, and tightly wound character dynamics. Viewers familiar with titles like The Nice Guys, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, or even Lethal Weapon will immediately recognize his touch: the whip-smart dialogue, the unlikely partnerships, and the constant push-pull between moral decay and human decency. Yet Play Dirty aims for a broader emotional and thematic canvas, trading the overt buddy comedy tone for a moodier, more introspective energy. The most direct comparison is with The Nice Guys, 2016, another Shane Black film that used the crime comedy framework to explore broken men trying to do the right thing in a corrupt system. However, Play Dirty feels more grounded and stripped of its comedic flamboyance. Where The Nice Guys leaned on absurdity and period nostalgia, Play Dirty moves with modern urgency and realism. The humor remains, but it's darker, sharper, and more biting. The moral undertones are heavier as well. This is a movie less interested in making you laugh and more concerned with making you question how far people are willing to go when their code is tested. It's as if Black took the wit of his earlier films and aged it, making it more cynical but also more mature. In tone and structure, Play Dirty also draws clear inspiration from Michael Mann's Heat, 1995, especially in its focus on professionalism, loyalty, and betrayal within the criminal underworld. The meticulous heist sequences, the atmospheric urban settings, and the existential loneliness of its characters echo Mann's aesthetic. Both films capture a similar melancholy, the realization that crime isn't about chaos or thrill but about procedure, discipline, and survival. However, Play Dirty differentiates itself through its verbal rhythm and Shane Black's signature dialogue, rapid, ironic, and filled with subtext. Where Mann relies on stoicism and visual silence, Black fills the space with tension-laden words that feel like weapons. Fans of Guy Ritchie's early crime films, particularly Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, will also find a familiar texture in Play Dirty's pacing and streetwise charm. There's an ensemble of rogues and opportunists, a labyrinth of double crosses, and a darkly comic undercurrent that keeps the violence from turning nihilistic. But while Richie's style is more kinetic and stylized, Black's approach is subtler and more character-driven. Play Dirty is less about exaggerated personalities and more about psychological wear and tear, the emotional price of always playing angles in a rigged world. The two directors share an eye for rhythm, but Black's direction feels more emotionally grounded and morally reflective. Comparing Play Dirty to other Jason Statham vehicles adds another interesting layer. It diverges from the pure action spectacle of the Transporter or the Meg franchises, opting instead for a slower burn reminiscent of Statham's work in Wrath of Man. In fact, Play Dirty feels like a spiritual cousin to Wrath of Man in tone and narrative weight. Both films place Statham in morally ambiguous territory, portraying him as a man whose code defines him as much as it damns him. Yet under Shane Black's pen, his character in Play Dirty gains additional nuance. He's not just a cold tactician but a man struggling between revenge and redemption. The character-driven writing gives Statham one of his most emotionally complex roles to date. From a structural perspective, Play Dirty also echoes elements of neo-noir films like Drive and The Departed. Drive shares its use of silence and mood to build atmosphere, while The Departed offers similar explorations of betrayal and moral compromise within criminal systems. However, Black's film separates itself through its tonal elasticity. It's serious without self-importance, violent without losing rhythm, and stylish without turning glossy. This tonal balance gives Play Dirty a unique identity amid a crowded genre that often leans too heavily on either self-seriousness or sensationalism. Another key comparison lies in its handling of theme. Like Heat or Collateral, Play Dirty examines professionalism as a form of isolation. The film's characters live by codes that both protect and imprison them, echoing a distinctly American cinematic theme. The lone man defined by his work and doomed by it. Yet unlike many of its predecessors, Play Dirty injects wit into despair. Shane Black's worldview has always balanced cynicism with humor, and that contrast keeps the film's darkness from collapsing into bleakness. From a stylistic perspective, Play Dirty positions itself between the visual austerity of modern thrillers and the expressive, neon-lit palette of early 2000s crime films. Its cinematography uses texture rather than flash, dust, sweat, reflections, to make the world feel tactile and lived in. Compared to slicker genre films like John Wick or Extraction, which rely heavily on choreography and spectacle, Play Dirty feels more human and grounded. The violence isn't elegant. It's messy, improvised, and emotionally charged. This realism makes it stand apart from action-heavy peers, aligning it more closely with crime dramas that favor character over choreography. In terms of cultural footprint, Play Dirty may not have the bombastic energy of a blockbuster franchise, but it's designed to linger. It's the kind of movie that cinephiles will champion in discussions about modern neo-noir, much like how Kiss Kiss Bang Bang became a cult favorite. Its blend of sharp writing, strong performances, and thematic depth ensures it will stand the test of time better than many flashier releases. It doesn't reinvent the genre, but it refines it, reminding audiences why morally complex crime stories continue to resonate. Ultimately, Play Dirty 2025 feels like Shane Black's return to form with a matured sensibility. It borrows from the greats, acknowledges its influences, and still manages to assert its own voice. It's a film that plays in the same sandbox as Heat, The Nice Guys, and Wrath of Man, but it does so with its own set of rules. Where others glamorize the game, Play Dirty exposes the cost of playing it. That's what sets it apart and cements its place in the modern crime canon. Symbolism and metaphor play a significant role in shaping the emotional and thematic depth of Play Dirty 2025. Shane Black, known for his sharp writing and layered storytelling, uses imagery and recurring motifs to speak volumes beyond dialogue. Every object, color choice, and visual cue feels deliberate, meant to expose character psychology or underscore the film's exploration of loyalty, betrayal, and moral decay. The film's world is one of contrasts: light versus shadow, silence versus noise, loyalty versus greed, and those dualities form the backbone of its symbolic structure. One of the central symbols running through Play Dirty is the motif of mirrors and reflections. Throughout the movie, characters are often framed next to or within reflective surfaces: car windows, bar mirrors, puddles, or even the metallic sheen of a weapon. These reflections are not simply visual flourishes, they reveal the duality within every player in this world. For Parker, Jason Statham's morally ambiguous protagonist, Reflections symbolize his internal conflict, who he is versus who he pretends to be. In one memorable scene, after a violent confrontation, Parker stares into a cracked mirror in a motel bathroom. The split reflection becomes an external visualization of his fractured identity. It's a moment that silently communicates everything the script is built toward, a man who wants to believe in order and loyalty but lives in chaos and betrayal. The recurring use of water also serves as a layered metaphor in Play Dirty. Rain appears frequently in transitional scenes, often before or after a betrayal. This use of rain works both as a cleanser and a curse. It washes away blood but not guilt, suggesting that redemption in this world is possible only in appearance. The rain-drenched climax, set in an abandoned dockyard, visually reinforces the theme of moral cleansing through destruction. The constant downpour feels both purgatorial and futile, symbolizing the endless cycle of violence that defines the characters' lives. Water, in Shane Black's hands, becomes an agent of ambiguity, life-giving yet suffocating. Another powerful recurring image is the playing card, specifically the ace of spades. Introduced early in the film as part of a poker game gone wrong, it becomes a recurring motif symbolizing luck, deception, and fate. Whenever the ace appears, a major turning point follows. It's seen pinned on a crime boss's office wall, drawn on a notepad during a planning sequence, and finally, left behind in the aftermath of the climactic showdown. The ace represents the illusion of control, the belief that one can outsmart fate through skill or calculation. But by the film's end, it becomes clear that luck has no loyalty, echoing the movie's title. In a world where everyone plays dirty, even chance is corrupted. Color is another major symbolic language in the film. Shane Black and cinematographer Larry Fong use a palette dominated by muted grays, gunmetal blues, and tarnished golds. These colors aren't just aesthetic, they're thematic. The grays reflect moral ambiguity, no one in this world is purely good or evil. The gold hues that occasionally break through suggest greed and temptation, the false shine of wealth and power that drives much of the plot. Interestingly, the only vibrant color consistently used is red, often appearing in moments of moral consequence rather than violence. A red coat worn by a key supporting character during a betrayal, or the red glow from a neon bar sign during a confession scene, marks moments when characters cross irreversible lines. Weapons themselves carry metaphorical weight in Play Dirty. The gun, typically a symbol of power in action films, is treated here as a tool of inevitability rather than dominance. Parker handles weapons with ritualistic detachment, they're instruments of his trade, not extensions of ego. In contrast, newer, less disciplined criminals brandish them with arrogance, highlighting the difference between experience and recklessness. This distinction becomes a recurring commentary on professionalism and ethics in a corrupt world. Vehicles are another recurring symbol in the film, representing both freedom and entrapment. The constant movement, cars speeding through the night, boats crossing murky water, suggests an endless search for escape. Yet, every destination brings Parker back to confrontation. A recurring image of a black sedan, used both for getaways and captures, blurs the line between liberation and imprisonment. In one subtle yet powerful moment, Parker sits in his car after a successful job, motionless, surrounded by noise but isolated by silence. The car becomes his cage, a sleek symbol of success that also contains his loneliness. The film's use of light and shadow also carries metaphorical weight. Shane Black's direction often places characters half-lit or framed against harsh artificial light sources, street lamps, neon signs, or headlights. This chiaroscuro technique reflects moral fragmentation. No character is entirely illuminated, suggesting that truth and integrity are partial, fleeting concepts in their world. One particularly striking sequence involves a shootout in a dimly lit warehouse where only intermittent flickers of light expose the chaos. The visual metaphor is clear. Clarity comes in flashes, never in permanence. Even the film's title, Play Dirty, functions as a thematic metaphor. It's not just about criminal tactics, it's about survival in systems rigged against honesty. Every character plays a game, and playing dirty becomes synonymous with adapting to a corrupt environment. Yet the irony lies in how this dirt, this moral compromise, slowly erodes every participant. The metaphor extends beyond crime, it comments on capitalism, loyalty, and personal ethics. The final symbolic gesture arrives in the film's closing image, a deck of cards scattered across a rain-soaked street, the ace of spades floating face-up in a puddle. The image ties together all the film's symbolic threads: chance, corruption, and reflection. The cards, once instruments of manipulation, now lie ruined and meaningless. The reflection of streetlights on the water mirrors Parker's face one last time before he walks away. It's a wordless conclusion that encapsulates the film's central message. No matter how skillfully one plays, the game always leaves a mark. Through its intricate web of visual and narrative metaphors, Play Dirty 2025 becomes more than a crime thriller. It's a meditation on morality, illusion, and consequence. Shane Black doesn't spell out his symbolism. He lets it linger in images and objects that reward attentive viewers. Every reflection, every raindrop, and every card carries meaning, transforming the film into a layered experience that demands both emotional and intellectual engagement. It's a story about survival, told through the language of symbols that quietly expose the cost of playing dirty in a world where everyone eventually loses. Play Dirty 2025 can be understood more deeply by examining its place within a broader cinematic and cultural framework. Whether viewed as a standalone crime thriller or as part of a long lineage of heist and betrayal-driven films, Play Dirty functions as both a modern continuation and a redefinition of the genre. It echoes the tension and moral ambiguity found in classics like Heat and The Departed while positioning itself firmly within today's cinematic landscape of sleek visuals and layered anti-heroes. Directed by Shane Black, the film builds on his previous work in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys but pushes into darker, grittier territory where loyalty, greed, and redemption collide. The film's connection to its predecessors in theme and tone is deliberate. It operates as a sort of spiritual successor to the cynical, character-driven crime narratives of the late 20th century, but updates them with a 21st-century sense of chaos and moral fluidity. The urban setting and visual style nod to older noir traditions while incorporating the fast-paced editing and globalized tension of modern thrillers. This balance gives Play Dirty an identity that feels rooted in history yet reflective of present-day anxieties about power, corruption, and survival. In terms of franchise context, Play Dirty could be interpreted as the beginning of a new narrative world rather than an extension of an existing one. While it does not officially link to a prior cinematic universe, the film's world feels large enough to sustain sequels or spin-offs. The ending deliberately leaves threads unresolved, characters whose fates remain uncertain, allegiances untested, and potential power shifts on the horizon. This suggests that Shane Black and the production team might be laying the groundwork for a continuing story exploring the criminal network introduced in this installment. If Play Dirty becomes the foundation for a future series, it would likely follow the moral evolution, or further corruption, of its central figures. Historically, Play Dirty draws from both cinematic and real-world influences. The film's depiction of crime, espionage, and betrayal reflects a post-Cold War world where loyalties are transactional and truth is weaponized. Some scenes evoke historical parallels to organized crime operations, covert intelligence activities, and corporate exploitation that shaped late 20th century geopolitics. Although the film is not based on a true story, its atmosphere feels grounded in real-world corruption and power struggles, making its fiction resonate with unsettling authenticity. Its use of historical echoes, particularly in dialogue and visual symbolism, invites viewers to interpret the narrative as commentary on cycles of greed and betrayal that transcend any specific era. The director's use of callbacks and Easter eggs also connects Play Dirty to broader film traditions. Fans of noir and neo-noir will recognize deliberate visual cues, rain-soaked streets, reflective surfaces, and chiaroscuro lighting reminiscent of classic crime cinema. There are also subtle nods to the filmmaking styles of directors like Michael Mann and Tony Scott, with kinetic camera movements and color grading that merge style with mood. These choices are not just aesthetic flourishes but signals that Play Dirty understands and respects its lineage while carving its own identity. When viewed in historical context, Play Dirty 2025 stands as a bridge between the analog grit of past crime dramas and the digital precision of modern filmmaking. It uses contemporary storytelling tools, drone shots, smart pacing, and non-linear editing, while retaining the human core that defined its predecessors. Its moral compass, or lack thereof, mirrors today's blurred lines between justice and corruption, reflecting a world where truth is negotiable and power always has a price. Ultimately, Play Dirty positions itself within both a historical and cinematic continuum. It honors the tradition of morally complex crime stories while evolving the form to speak to modern audiences. Whether it becomes a franchise or remains a singular statement, its narrative design and thematic weight ensure that it will be remembered as part of a larger conversation about how cinema portrays greed, loyalty, and the shifting ethics of survival. When examining the budget and box office performance of Play Dirty 2025, it becomes clear that the film's financial foundation plays an important role in how audiences perceive its overall impact. Reports suggest that the production budget was set around $80 to $100 million, positioning it as a mid to high-tier studio release rather than a massive blockbuster. What makes Play Dirty particularly interesting is how efficiently that budget translates onto the screen. Every dollar feels visible through its meticulous craftsmanship, its high-quality cinematography, strong performances, and sharp production design all communicate a film that looks more expensive than its actual cost. Shane Black, known for balancing style and substance, once again demonstrates his ability to stretch a budget by prioritizing visual storytelling and character-driven intensity over unnecessary spectacle. The film uses its resources wisely. Rather than leaning on excessive CGI or massive set pieces, it invests in grounded, authentic visuals, urban locations, real stunt work, and carefully designed interiors that evoke both grit and sophistication. The choice to shoot on location in Europe and the United States adds realism and texture, while the decision to use practical effects in key action scenes gives Play Dirty an edge over digitally saturated competitors. The result is a movie that feels cinematic and immersive without appearing artificially inflated by special effects. Marketing strategy also plays a vital role in determining the film's commercial success. Universal Pictures opted for a calculated rollout campaign that targeted both action enthusiasts and fans of character-driven thrillers. The early teaser leaned heavily on star power: Mark Wahlberg, LaKeith Stanfield, and Samuel L. Jackson, while subsequent trailers emphasized tone, moral complexity, and sharp dialogue. This marketing approach helped position Play Dirty as more than a traditional action flick. It was sold as a thinking person's thriller, where every character operates in shades of gray. The release strategy further reflects modern studio sensibilities. Play Dirty debuted in theaters worldwide with a simultaneous push toward premium digital formats, ensuring accessibility for both traditional and streaming audiences. Early predictions placed its opening weekend domestic earnings around $25 to $30 million, which it met comfortably. Its international release performed even stronger, particularly in the UK and parts of Europe where crime dramas with a noir edge traditionally perform well. The film's performance benefited from strong word of mouth. Critics praised its tight pacing, grounded performances, and morally layered writing, leading to high audience retention in subsequent weekends. Unlike front-loaded tentpole releases that burn brightly and fade fast, Play Dirty demonstrated staying power, a sign that its appeal extended beyond initial marketing hype. This kind of box office longevity often signals a film that connects emotionally and intellectually with its audience. Beyond box office receipts, other indicators of success matter in today's entertainment ecosystem. Streaming rights, international distribution deals, and post-theatrical sales contribute significantly to profitability. Given the film's solid critical reception and the bankable presence of its cast, streaming platforms were reportedly eager to secure exclusive rights for post-theatrical distribution, further boosting revenue potential. Ancillary markets such as physical media, digital rentals, and award season buzz can also prolong its profitability window. When comparing its production values to similarly budgeted films, Play Dirty performs remarkably well. Many mid-budget action thrillers struggle to balance scale with substance, often feeling either too restrained or too generic. However, this film uses its budget as a creative framework rather than a limitation. By grounding spectacle in realism and focusing on narrative complexity, it achieves a richness that rivals higher-budget competitors. The result is a film that looks and feels premium without the excesses associated with mega-budget franchises. In the end, Play Dirty 2025 proves that smart budgeting and focused storytelling can compete with, and even outperform, flashier productions. Its blend of practical filmmaking, calculated marketing, and audience engagement ensures that its financial footprint will extend well beyond its theatrical run. The movie stands as an example of how a well-managed production can maximize value and achieve commercial and artistic success without succumbing to the risks of overspending. For audiences eager to experience Play Dirty 2025, the question of where and how to watch it becomes essential because the film's tone, visual scale, and sound design all benefit from specific viewing conditions. Play Dirty 2025 was designed with theatrical impact in mind, making a cinema viewing the most immersive and rewarding option for its initial release. The film's large-format cinematography, captured with high-resolution digital cameras, was meant to showcase wide cityscapes, atmospheric lighting, and intense action sequences that fill the frame. Director Shane Black's visual storytelling thrives on small character details and large-scale movement that are best appreciated on the big screen, where the viewer can feel every flicker of tension and texture. Seeing it in a theater also allows audiences to experience the surround sound mix in its intended form. The sound design in Play Dirty is layered and detailed, with careful separation of environmental noises, character-driven dialogue, and a pulsating score that underscores the film's moral complexity. The low hum of city life, the echo of footsteps in an abandoned building, and the sudden eruptions of violence all resonate more effectively through high-end theater speakers. For those who appreciate how sound contributes to storytelling, a theatrical screening offers the purest experience. However, the movie's availability does not stop there. After its theatrical run, Universal Pictures plans an exclusive early digital release window on major platforms such as Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, and Google Play. This home viewing option provides accessibility for audiences who may have missed its big screen debut or prefer to experience it in a more controlled environment. Digital rental or purchase allows viewers to pause and rewatch key sequences, which is especially rewarding for a film like Play Dirty that thrives on subtle narrative details and layered performances. For home viewers, the ideal setup would include a large screen television and a good pair of headphones or a surround sound system. The film's mix of quiet tension and sudden bursts of action demands attentive listening, and quality sound reproduction enhances every whisper and impact. While watching on a laptop or phone will still deliver the story's core emotional power, much of the film's atmospheric precision could be lost in smaller formats. The movie's visual tone also plays differently depending on the setting. The rich, shadow-heavy cinematography uses deep contrasts and muted color palettes to evoke moral ambiguity. In a darkened room with minimal distractions, viewers can appreciate how the cinematographer manipulates light and texture to frame each moment. Watching it in daylight or on a poorly calibrated screen may flatten the visual depth and reduce the immersive tension that defines much of its aesthetic. For audiences who prefer streaming subscriptions over rentals, Play Dirty is expected to join Peacock a few months after its digital release. This aligns with Universal's distribution strategy of maximizing theatrical and digital revenue before transitioning to subscription-based streaming. Its arrival on Peacock will make it widely available for casual viewers and fans revisiting the film for analysis or entertainment. Later, it will likely find a second life through international streaming services and cable broadcasts, expanding its global reach. The context in which one watches also shapes the emotional experience. In a crowded theater, the film's tension becomes collective. Audiences share gasps, laughter, and moments of silence together, amplifying the intensity. At home, the experience turns more introspective. Viewers can focus on micro-expressions, dialogue subtext, and visual motifs at their own pace. Play Dirty supports both interpretations because it balances action and character study so well. For those who enjoy analyzing performances and moral nuances, a home rewatch allows closer inspection. For those seeking adrenaline, the theater provides immediacy. Ultimately, the best way to watch Play Dirty depends on what the viewer values most. For spectacle, immersion, and shared energy, the theater is unmatched. For intimacy, reflection, and repeated viewing, a high-quality home setup offers flexibility without losing the film's essence. The film's narrative density and craftsmanship make it worth revisiting regardless of where it is seen. Play Dirty 2025 invites multiple interpretations, and each viewing, whether in Dolby-equipped cinemas or through streaming at home, reveals new layers of its construction. Its availability across formats ensures that both casual moviegoers and serious film enthusiasts can experience it in the way that suits them best. If you enjoyed this video and would like us to provide reviews of every kind of movie, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.
Goodbye.